Hello, Dad here. I was, this is Saturday, 23rd of June. I was thinking about some stuff. It's been a while since I've had a chance to talk to the kids by this avenue. And, I, the news cycle lately has been really pretty absurd with the rabid intolerance of people on both the right and the left. And I wanted to share just a few things that I've been thinking about. Right now, one of the biggest things that are driving the media, at least the mass media, is the border situation with illegal aliens being detained and their kids being kept in separate quarters from the adults, which some people have very strong opinions on. And I wanted to just go back a little bit of the historical record. And I was taking some notes, and unfortunately fortunately I'm still around. But I remember back in the Clinton administration with the Reno Justice Department, and I haven't done a lot of back checking to make sure I remember everything correctly. So I think it would be incumbent upon you, whether you're my kids or friends or family who have not decided to expunge me from their life because we might have different opinions about different things. One friend recently, just asked people in a blanket statement, if you don't agree with me with the way I think or the way I feel, then just, delete me from Facebook. I think that's sad. We're getting more and more like it was in the, late 1850s. Anyway, back in the Reno days with the Clinton administration, people might remember little Elian Gonzalez. His mom had fled, which I believe was an abusive relationship, in the communist cesspool of Cuba. And Elian was living with some friends or family in Florida. And in order to make nice with Castro, Fidel, and Raul, the communist thugs that took over Cuba, in order to make nice with them, the administration sent heavily armed and armored government agents to forcibly rip Elian Gonzalez away from the arms. I think it was an uncle or a cousin or something. You might have seen the picture of that. The agent had his weapon up. His finger was outside the finger guard, which, that was good trigger control on that from that aspect. But Elian was screaming and crying, and most of us who believed in freedom and the fact that Elian's mom had died on the crossing from Cuba over to Florida in order to secure a better life for her son, we're kind of appalled by the tactics that were used. And then, so you might, if you're brave enough, go back and look for those pictures and read the story on that. Also, and look at my notes here. Back in Waco, Texas, those poor slobs that were with the Branch Davidian cult. I believe their leader was David Koresh, and he was apparently wanted on weapons charges and potential for maybe some sexual indiscretions with some of the young people in the compound. I don't remember for sure. But apparently, he went into town frequently, and the government agents could have arrested him, but they didn't do so. And instead, they surrounded, including tanks, their compound in Waco, just outside of Waco. And I remember seeing pictures of the government agents. They had their badges obscured, their badge numbers obscured or covered with tape, so people couldn't find out who they were. And, of course, they're wearing their Nomex just in case there happened to be fire, which there was during the attack on those that cult group. They were shot up, of course. They were shooting back. I'll admit that. But the government, in their desire to eradicate these people that they considered, for whatever reason, enemies of the state, they were all killed, men, women, and children, burned it to the ground, and the evidence was quickly destroyed. And again, most of those people, were weird, and they were white, so not too much was said. But again, it was a lot of people were just appalled by the sense of government overreach. Oh, good, a spider. And but they were killed. Those on the left, the people that love big government. A lot of the justification I heard was, well, they didn't do whatever the government told them to do. And for the most part, I think they were in compliance with a lot of the laws. There was some issues, I think, again with weapons, maybe making a shortened barrel or something like that. Which, by the way, was the case with the next person on my list, Randy Weaver, up at Ruby Ridge. He was a former Special Forces person, and he was living in Idaho. As I understand it, now I could be wrong, but as I understand it, government agents had asked Randy to make weapons modifications to some firearms. He had refused several times, and finally he relented and modified some weapons, and then they chose to, whatever reason, wait till he got back home. And now a lot of this happened, of course, during the time of there was a whole lot of media attention paid to the Militia Movement, and apparently Randy Weaver might have had some connections with some militia groups that were not happy with the direction that the government was taking, with government excess and desire to impinge on the life of American citizens more and more. But anyway, Randy Weaver, they laid siege to his little compound up in Idaho, and let's see, the kids were out running around playing, and I think Mrs. Weaver's name was Sandy. Anyway, but she was such a threat to the government that while she was standing behind a screen door, or a screened door, holding a child in her arms, that a sniper, if I remember right, that made the news at the time, his name was Lon Haruchi. He had the green light and had permissive to use extreme prejudice, and executed Mrs. Weaver while she was holding the child, which apparently a child is quite a threat. And then they took down Randy Weaver. And those kids were taken away from their parents and put in government care. And again, I don't want to diminish the pain that parents or children feel while being forcibly separated, but I want to drive home the fact that the selective indignation of the socialists and big government sympathizers is very selective. They really only care about the children when it suits their agenda. If it's going to help obfuscate something else, smoke and mirrors to divert attention from other things. And I wonder if, the timing of this selective indignation just might happen to coincide very well with the release of the IG's report that shamed many people within the FBI. Excuse me, my arm slipped there. And other agencies of the government that were apparently, from the IG's report, complicit in trying to manipulate the facts to intentionally prevent Donald Trump from being elected president, and trying to secure Madam Clinton the presidency. The timing to me is suspect. And again, when I was a deputy sheriff, one time we were executing or serving bench warrants on people, and there was a young mother. I don't know, she might have been 17, 18 years old. No husband. But she had signed a ticket for something that she had done, and the judge had executed a bench warrant for her arrest. And we, unfortunately, had the duty to do that. And she had a young infant. And fortunately, in this case, her mom was there. So the young infant was able to be with grandma. But it's yet another instance where the government, in order to enforce its laws, separated a child from its parent. And I'm not a big advocate. I I believe in mercy. And remember, justice is one component of the law, as is mercy. And my partner and I, after we arrested this lady and took her to the holding cells there, we talked about it, and we both felt compassion for this lady. And our paperwork included, in our report that would go to the judge that attended her release, her arrest, explaining, the circumstances, the things we saw, the things we felt. And we both worded our reports in a way that would hopefully encourage the courts to show more compassion and mercy towards this woman so she could take care of her child. And I worked, when I worked for the Department of Corrections in Missouri, there's a lot of people that unfortunately their children are in foster care or in the care of other relatives because they broke the law. And usually it wasn't just because they were jaywalking. And I don't want to minimize the trauma that can attend familial separation. But when people knowingly and willfully take the risk to illegally enter our country, then they have to be prepared to deal with the consequences. And they may not always be pleasant, but at least it's not like North Korea. If you wander into their territory, you get shot, or maybe wander into Iran, you might get shot or imprisoned. It's just one of those sad things that happen. In this country, it is the kindest, most compassionate country that I'm aware of. People will point to Sweden. Oh, look at all the adult males from the Middle East that are between the ages of 18 and 35 that they're letting in, and some families too. But the United States, being the country that it is, has been willing, as granted we're not perfect, but has been willing to use our people and our treasure, our treasury, to help preserve and protect and liberate people who were suffering in around the world. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, even the Civil War. We lost, how many tens and thousands of people for the sole purpose, one of the purposes was to free those blacks that were held in involuntary servitude. A great stain on our history. as was our treatment of the indigenous Americans here. It wasn't good. But hopefully, we've learned, or we're trying to learn, and to do better. But there's always been that compulsion among our people, from those of Western European culture. I'm not talking about race, but Western European culture and Judeo-Christian values almost impel us to strive to do better. And I defy people to come up with as many examples of the kindness and opening arms and welcoming attitude of this country. Yes, again, we haven't been perfect, and we still have some ways to go. Now, I had a thought there, and it just slipped my mind. I'm sure when it comes back, I'll do this. I'll say something else. But again, for those of you that have been brave enough or had strong enough stomachs to listen to me rant. Oh yeah, that's what it was. I remember as a young man, growing up, and I went to some speeches by Eldridge Cleaver. I did not attend, but I heard speeches by Shirley Chisholm, H. Rap Brown, a little bit older, Louis Farrakhan, Cesar Chavez, and a whole litany of communist revolutionaries. And I don't remember the universities trying to shut them down by intimidation or coercion or violence. The media wasn't complicit in trying to stifle the free intercourse of intellectual discussion and debate as is happening now. The cognitive dissonance of some people just blows my mind. And I wish people, especially those that are self-styled intellectual effete, would extend the same courtesy to those they disagree with as some of us do. Anyway, it's a bit long-winded, and I'll probably have something else to say. I've got other thoughts, and it's been a while since I've had a chance to use this venue to leave some thoughts and memories and discussion points for my kids and family members. And I need to take off. I want to get back to my lodgings and prepare for the rest of the day. But thank you for spending time with Dad. Bye.